Testing. There we go. I think I see some. I think I see some audio now. In the little bars. All right, there it is. I don't know why my we're gonna use the camera mic tonight. I don't know why my Blue Yeti's not working, but there we go. Why does that? Hello, everybody. Now my screen is not updating, apparently. So that's cool. There we go. Now that it's updating. Well, that was fun. We lost probably all our viewers now for anybody coming after the fact. All right, let's try this again. Hello, and welcome to the Sheep Seats. For the third time, I'll try to do this intro. I am Matthew, aka Sheep, aka Dark Sheep. And tonight we are about a month and a few days away from this post All-Star break contest to start that we are going to be drafting tonight. We are drafting the 7th inning stretch. We're looking for 7 more people to join it. What's up, Nez? We have been trying to fill these the last few nights. Trying to get some of these done during the day. We're slowly but surely working our way. We're at 12% full on this guy. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how this contest fills. We got some, right now I think it's a pretty light NFL slate out there, just Best Ball Mania and the Puppy 2. So be interesting to see if we get a few more people wandering over into the MLB second half contest. I don't know. I imagine this is going to end up maybe being rake free or something. I don't know how much it's going to overlay, but we'll see. And how fast it starts filling as we get closer. I have really no predictions, to be honest. It depends on how many other NFL contests are open, probably. And we'll see what I don't have any idea when they would start MLB or NBA off-season contest. But I think we'll be all right. We need 6 more people still. If you're watching this. All right. So while we're waiting for 6 people, let's see. I was using our friend. I was taking a look the other day at something. Our friend Baseball, or Chris, aka Baseball, he had made a spreadsheet for us with a bunch of info on it for the regular season contest. So I went there and I was interested in taking a look at what kind of schedule we got. So this is a spreadsheet for the main season contest. I'm sure most of you have seen it here. This had like season-long projections and stuff, but I came in here and they built this really nice MLB schedule out. And I went ahead, made a local copy, and I clipped off all the all the weeks that didn't apply to this seventh inning stretch contest. So this is probably pretty small to read, but the thing I wanted to focus on, I haven't really parsed all the matchups and stuff. Again, we basically have a 4 weeks in our regular season, and then we have 2-week playoff chunks, right? So I was interested to look at that 4-week period, and let's see if we can zoom in. I think he's got this locked from zooming. There we go. Hopefully you can read that. And actually, yeah, teams are up there. So this isn't as pretty. I didn't make it as pretty and stuff as he did, but I was interested to see if we had any edges in the regular season in this contest being 4 weeks, and taking a look at how many games each team played. So there is basically, let's see, there's one team. Oakland has 26 games in the regular season, and that is the only team with 26 games, which I don't think anybody's really stacking too much Oakland to begin with. So that's even another. I know Nez is big on his guy, Estuary Ruiz there, but that's kind of interesting that they do have the lowest, and they're only people with 26 games. They're already a pretty bad offense, so that kind of puts up a pretty big red flag for me. So that's interesting. And then the other thing was this 29 games. So Baltimore, Toronto, both teams that I don't mind stacking, although Baltimore right now is dealing with kind of a big cluster of injuries. But they should be back more in full strength once Cedric Mullins gets back, etc. So that's an interesting team. I was already liking to stack them. Toronto, I just believe in that offense quite a bit, and that we get that boost of that extra game maybe. Cleveland, I've been pretty much avoiding pretty much all of, but they do have that little extra bonus game. We've got Minnesota, which is another team that's dealing with a big cluster of injuries right now. We've seen a pretty big drop on Byron Buxton with his injury in this contest so far. That's an interesting guy to start, maybe hoping he is healthy and we get that extra game. He's definitely an impact guy. And then Phillies, which I'm totally happy stacking Phillies. They've really underperformed so far as an offense, and they have a lot of talent there. And then Washington, which is an interesting late round stack in that we have kind of the leader of that team in as far as offense goes is still waiting for 6 is Lane Thomas right now, leading off usually, putting up some home runs. So that's interesting. And then you can pretty much get any other piece of that team that you want. We do have to start worrying about maybe not so much in this regular season part, but a guy like Heimer Candelario, he could be not on the team anymore if we start pairing some of these. He's the one that really stands out to me as far as bats there to pair with Logan Thomas. But he might be gone by the time we get into these playoff weeks. They might trade him for whatever they can get. Chicago, basically outside of Dansby Swanson, you can kind of put together any of their outfield pieces later on in the draft. So that's not bad. We have Cincinnati, which is pretty much a free stack. And if you go and you look they'll be at home this final week of the playoffs. They'll be at home for a big chunk of the semis. I know, let's see, the quarterfinals, they'll be home. Not too much, but they have a pretty packed week there. Let's see. So that's interesting. We definitely have the Elly Cruz discussion to have at some point tonight. But pretty much outside of him right now, the whole team is pretty reasonable to stack as far as cost goes. So those are our 29 game teams in this 4-week regular season. So if we take a look at that and then we think, or the quarters and the semis are pretty much all 12 or 13. There's a few 11s sprinkled in there. But the more interesting part is, so there's a couple of teams. If we look at Baltimore, they have this interesting schedule where they have that 29 game 4-week regular season, and then they are also on the top of the finals in terms of games. So they have the 14, which is the max or the largest amount that any team has of games in the finals. So there's a couple of teams like that. It's Baltimore, and I think there's one more. I want to say it's Washington. Yeah, so Baltimore and Washington have this really interesting schedule in terms of the amount of games. So thanks again to our friend Chris, aka Baseball, for putting together this original spreadsheet. Definitely something to think about. I don't know how much we factor that in, but after seeing this, I definitely have been considering more Washington. I don't really know who we want to stack on Washington, though, outside of Logan Thomas, but that is that, as they say. All right, so let's see. We got 5 more people we're waiting on to fill this contest. Call your grandma, give her your code for Underdog. Maybe she can get $100 to match and get her in here to draft with us. Yeah. So what else we got? Well, let's just do it. Let's look into. Let's pull up our friend Fangraphs here. Let's do it. Let's look at our friend Elly de la Cruz. So the big news, if you are living under a baseball rock this week, is the call-up of basically the top number 1 prospect on most prospect lists, and Elly de la Cruz. He was behind some few other guys who basically started the year in the MLB and have lost their prospect status. So he's pretty much the number 1. And I think this pretty much sums it up, the prospects TLDR here from Fangraphs as to what we're getting if we're drafting him. He's pretty much, he's likely to be a boom bust guy. even on the short term. Oh, well, that's good. There. What's up, Matt? So, yeah, you see here his grades here, his raw power is 60, 70. 60 is the current, and the way these rankings work is the first number is the current, and the second one is the could develop into. So basically, out of a 80 scale, he's got a raw power pretty much to the top. He's almost already achieving all of his raw power. The boom bust part comes here in the game power. So this is where does he get to the power in games? So he's got this 70 game power potential. That's the boom, but the bust is the 45. So he's got speed. So we saw him hit a triple the other day, and is that gigantic, massive home run. If you have not heard the call the TV announcer did, it's pretty good. You'll have to go check it out just to see this massive home run, and the call was pretty good. So yeah, basically he until this year he had been at AA or below. This year he started at AAA, and he had played 38 games, had 186 plate appearances, and when you break down, basically he had he struggled in the month of May, and then once May turned over on the calendar, he really took off, and you see he eventually ended up with a WRC plus of 151, which is 51. Again, WRC plus is based on 100 being average at that level. So he was basically 50% better than average as a hitter, and he really got into the power. And you saw the speed and stolen bases and stuff starting to come together. So he's got this. We see all this boom potential, and we see him right now. In his first couple of games, we've seen it too. So that's the basic up until now on Elly de la Cruz, and going from there, we start looking at projection systems. At least that's that we have this baseline. We know he's progressed pretty quickly through the minors. He's a young guy. He's got that power potential. And so the question is, can he get to it? So you'll see here at the minor leagues, he had this 30% K percent, which is not great. And that's really where the bust could really come in. You see, this is pretty much zero sample in his 3 games so far. But it just goes to show you the K rate is going to be the thing that is the problem. So it's a question of, does he adjust? Does he get to the power often enough for us? So this is the sort of profile that if you've been around here, I'm pretty gun shy in general when it comes to rookies and prospects. They often are viewed in that boom potential, and they get these comps to other players that are good. No one ever comps a player to the negative side of the potential. So it's my view that the risks oftentimes outweigh the gains, and especially when it comes to the game that we're playing here, more so on the complete season-long contest, is the wasted roster spot of somebody who does end up failing or going back down for a period of time, like Grayson Rodriguez is an example of that in the regular season, of a guy that had that top ceiling potential, and we saw parts of it in some of the starts, but he just couldn't put it together. And so now we have that roster spot that we lost in our 20 spots. So that's the risk. We know the reward. So, then what is the cost? Right now, it's got an ADP of 103.9. This is one of those ADPs that I don't think is real. You're not going to get him here. He's on his way up. People are taking him before that. He's an infielder. He has some good options to pair with Cincinnati. He's got that good park. So that's really all the, without drawing any like super big conclusion on it, that's kind of like all of the input data that we have. A lot of people are going to, like I said, err on the side of the success, or see that, especially after he hit that mammoth home run, everybody's going to be thinking about that, and they saw the speed. And I mean, as much as people are going to say, oh yeah, what about the K percent? People are going to say that and then ignore it and really go for the upside, which is, in my personal strategy, my philosophy, I'm not going to chase a player like this. I do regret at this point not taking some in the late rounds before he got called up. That's probably the one place I think I went wrong there. Is I wish I would have got some in the late rounds, but at that point we didn't know exactly when or if he's getting called up. He's still a young kid that they could have just messed with him and kept him down and said he need development. But I think maybe I need to readjust some of my ideas about prospects in terms of when and if they're going to get called up, in the perspective of a more modern day approach, that the teams are a little more willing to call them up earlier, and they're willing to, or they give in to the fans a little bit easier in the age of social media. It feels like. All right, well, we got 3 more people. Hopefully we can get them. So if your grandma's already joined, call up your great aunt and your great uncle and all your cousins. See if any of them have yet to use their Underdog match proposal or matching funds. Send them your username. You guys can both get a bonus, and tell them to come join this draft. All right. How is everyone doing tonight? Anybody got any questions? I don't know if I answered any, or if hopefully I helped people make some decisions on Elly De La Cruz. I'm not going to tell you what to do there. That's a matter of style, I think, when it comes down to it, and philosophy. And just in general, players... Yeah, this is interesting. Not only I think they're free money right now, so he's getting a boost up because of the hype on the pick'em slips, and the other thing is he had a ridiculous ADP today in the daily contest. He had like an ADP of 9, which was fine when on the night that it was a 5-game slate against Noah Syndergaard, but it was pretty silly tonight on this like massive 13-game slate. Like it's an easy fade there. Harder fade on this smaller, or on this post All-Star break contest. All right, we need 3 people. Yeah, it was like, I get it, but it's funny because when it comes to daily draft styles, I think Nez and I are kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. He's for me, I just tend to take projections and set them up and pick a few teams I want to target. Whereas Nez is a lot less, or he's a lot more of a gut drafter. I know he still looks at projections and gets an idea of where the field's going based on that. But it's funny that in our differing styles that both of us came to that same conclusion today about how the hype is kind of silly on the dailies for Elly. All right, 2 more people. Now that your great aunt has joined, you should probably call your roommate from college and get them to join. Maybe I should do that. Telling you what to do, and I'm not doing it myself. All right, what else we got to talk about? Let's see. I hope to fill the contest by now. Let's see. What else can we talk about? What else we got on Fangraphs? Something I was taking a look at. Another thing I was taking a look at the other day is team WAR totals rest of season. So in this this chart is not an exact science. I don't exactly know where it's all pulled together for them, but I do like to come here and take a look at rest of season, the bats. So sorted by the lowest first, we have the Rockies, Nationals, Reds, this is a really interesting. I don't know if this takes into account Elly De La Cruz, but if you do go look at projection systems, you don't really see a ton of additional WAR from him being added to the team based on his bat. And this does separate between batting and pitching, which is why I like to look at this bat column and kind of get an idea of the teams and what we think for the rest of the season. So I don't think we really see anything crazy till we get here to the Phillies, who I was talking about before that they're underperforming, but they are down here at the bottom of this rest of season WAR for hitters. So that is kind of scary. But let's go kind of get to this middle pack, which is nothing really crazy. I guess it is interesting that the Guardians are here, who right now are performing at like sub athletic capabilities. they're really struggling as hitters right now. They're in a lot of categories worse than the Athletics right now. So that's interesting. Maybe we do see some bounce back and we can target some Guardians hitters in this contest. Sorting it on the other direction, we got the Blue Jays up here at the top. Like I said earlier, I'm really loving drafting Blue Jays. They're kind of hard to draft because they don't have a ton of outfielders that I love. They do have Varsho late, but a lot of their good hitters are infielders, so you're kind of restricted there if you want to get them in this contest. But I do like that team. Dodgers, Mookie and Freddie are putting together awesome seasons in terms of underdog scoring so far. That I think we can, pretty confidently think that remains. The Rays are up here. The Braves, Padres, Rangers, Astros, Yankees. And then here's the interesting one, I think, this interesting group in the Mets and the Cardinals. Two teams that we're sort of worried about, but we definitely see a reason to like their bats from this projected rest of season war. I'm sorry, that's Yankees. Yeah, Mets and Cardinals. Yeah, right now we're in the middle of this really brutal stretch of injuries. We got a bunch more pitchers are hurt again, still, also, whatever you want to call it. Chris Sale is pretty much sounds like he's done, or he just got put on the 60-day IL. Lance McCullers had another setback. Apparently, he's getting an MRI done. We don't know if he's going to be joining the team. Things are just building up. And then in the hitters, this top-end hitters, right now, I don't think any of these guys are looking to be out completely through this contest, but we're starting to get to the point where Jordan and Alonso are going to be out for, I'm not sure about Jordan's oblique, like Nez says here, but 3 to 4 weeks. We're starting to push into the start of this contest. Like I said, we've got about a month or so. We also have Aaron Judge's toe. I don't think he's going to be out forever, but yeah, we're starting to push into some of these. We're starting to really push into this contest starting in the injuries. Oh, I did not hear this. I actually just drafted Jazz today for the first time in this contest. He is out with turf toe right now. Oh, we have filled. Thank the maker, as C3PO says. So this is saying differently. This is from a few days ago. Receives a positive report. Is able to play catch. Could be back on the field within the 4 to 6 timeline that was handed in the middle of May. It's interesting. Again, that's starting to push into this contest any more time, and we're going to really start. Nope, no big deal. There's a lot of entries, a lot of news to parse through. I definitely want to. One of my next projects is to sit down and, as we get like 3 weeks out, is to sit down and go through the IL list and see if there's anybody that we're overestimating will be back or underestimating will be back for the start of this contest. So, all right, Nez gets the Acuna 1.1. Stay hot right there. Nothing wrong with that. Wu-Tang takes Judge. This is a full friends and family draft. T-Bear is in here. TK we see a lot. Not sure if they're in here. Chip C is in here. Unpronounceable Mets fan is in here. And Luke Big Shots. I can't wait. I wonder how many drafts they've done. They're literally in every draft I've been in. I maybe not literally, but They're in almost every one of these drafts so far. They're definitely going to max it out. Ooh, we got a spicy pick here. Donald 402 is going to jump Rafael Devers up. If you're going to jump someone up, it's not the worst player to jump up. He's definitely a interesting pick. What's up, Drew? We just filled the contest. That's what's up. So we're just getting. You just heard me spend 40 minutes trying to fill dead air. Not dead air, but yeah, we talked a little bit about Elly Cruz and what to expect. Sort of the error bars on what we can expect out of him. Took a look at a couple other things, some schedule stuff. Let's definitely go back and check that out. Skip the part where I didn't have any sound at the beginning, though. So I have word from the Badge Bros Discord server or Discord channel that our friend Chipsy is at the beach and pretty drunk, in his words. So interesting. See what he does, what happens. See how many. Maybe he'll be the auto drafter of Jacob DeGrom today. Oh, we are on the clock. We are going to take Mookie here. Nothing crazy. We're going to take Mookie. Jordan is falling a little bit with the news. The IL, he's going to be an interesting guy that we might be able to get. We might be able to get some good value depending on how far he falls and what his prognosis turns into. But he's definitely an interesting guy. Luke takes a Jordan Trout. That's a great start. Let's see where we are going to go. Basically, we need to choose if we want to take one of these outfielders or an infielder. As far as I'm concerned, I love Shane McClanahan, but I don't like giving up this raw hitter points for a pitcher right now. All right. I said it before. I said I like the Phillies. So we're going to start with a pretty classic 2 outfielder start here. In general, I think that if you're coming into this contest and you drafted some of the regular season stuff, I do think there's more value on outfielder as you go through the contest, as you go through the draft compared to the regular season. That's interesting. He's not in the pool, but he has been surprisingly good. He's an older pitcher. Where was he? Ben Lively, not Blake. Blake Lively is a different person. I think you're confusing WB stars with your pitchers there. Des. I know that's belittling. She did a lot more than that, but but Ben Lively is a 31-year-old pitcher who went to Korea and is back with Cincinnati, and he's been pitching okay. Blake, Ben, Bob Lively. So yeah, we see Pete also starting to fall a little bit based on his IL stint. We do know that we did see the number there. Oh, well, you brought it up. Yeah. I would stay away. He's not in the contest, but Yeah, up till now. You know who else has been good is Julio Teheran for the Brewers. He's somehow been putting together outings. All right, we got it. Yeah, right now this is actually more. This is a skill right now in baseball that a lot of teams are going to need. They're going to need some of these guys. Find them wherever they can, whatever rocks they can dig them up from under and get some innings while they wait for people to get healthy again. I do think it's super risky right now drafting this contest. Just the way that pitcher injuries are going. I think yes, this is I feel you here. Daily baseball is a game of it's a game of bankroll management more than it is anything else. You just got to try and keep yourself alive and not lose too much for that day that you get the randomness right. But I definitely get how people get frustrated with it. For me, that's why I love it. But I'm also a sick person. All right, so we're coming up here. Pete Alonso goes. We'll see what happens here. I know who I would like to get. Oh, we got a Joe Ryan jumping up. Okay, this person is getting their players. They jumped up Joe Ryan, Corey Seager, and Corbin Carroll. So that is interesting. Our guy Donald 40, or our person Donald 402 gets. They did jump up Devers, and then kind of stuck with some infielder. They jumped up Bobby Witt, but then took the fall on. So I don't know how much advantage you're getting jumping up. I mean, you're making kind of a unique build, but also you can get this build if you draft with a regular ADP. So you're not really getting that unique. Yeah, we took Bryce. We're gonna take Trey Turner. I didn't know if it would make past Gypsy, but we're just gonna pair them together and hope that they put together what they should. I definitely know who we want to get here. Oh, there he goes. Luke Big Shots takes Corbin Burns, who seems to be finally adjusting to the pitch clock and starting to put some good starts together. All right, let's see. Here we go. I think we are going to take a pitcher here. We're going to start. No. I think we're going to take Cedric Mullins here. I was talking about the schedule when we started the Baltimore Orioles they have the maximum amount of games in that 4-week period out of all the teams, and they also have the maximum amount of games in the finals. So we're going to try to put together a little Baltimore stack in addition to this. So at this point, we're going to do what I like to do and fill in our queue with pretty much any player that we like or that I like as part of a stack. So do that, put in our Dodgers, and just queue up these guys. That way they're starred as we get through ADP, as we get through the draft. We're starting to see a real fall off in production from James Outman. A few weeks ago, we sort of talked about how he was overperforming, and now he's probably underperforming. So If he can remain in the lineup and keep his spot on the Dodgers roster, I think we end up at a point where he's in the middle of what we saw early and what we're seeing now. So as he falls down, and you'll see him drop a little bit even past this. When we were talking about Elly de la Cruz, we were talking about how the ADP isn't like real because you're not going to get him at that, and you're going to have to take him earlier. I've today in both drafts I think I did, Outman started to fall, so his ADP is probably lower than this, and he's a guy I'm starting to wonder if we can mix back into Dodger stacks where I didn't like when he was going 80, 90. So interesting guy to consider. Hard to take these other pieces of the Dodgers right now, just due to consistency and playing time. They sort of rotate playing time right now. See, Aaron Hicks has an ADP. It'd be interesting to see. He's been batting cleanup lately for Baltimore, so it'd be interesting to see once Mullins gets back, etc. Who else is injured? I can't remember. But yeah, so yeah, we got our stuff set up here. Then I'm just gonna put our stack potential guys here, throw them in ADP order, and see, we'll mix them in as we go. And these are sort of our core teams that I want to work with. Maybe we can, if we don't like where we're getting these guys, we work in a late round stack instead of one of these teams. But this is sort of my preferred way to draft, is setting up these stacks around these guys that we take early. Our poor guy Donald here, our poor person, sorry. Don't know who's on the other side of that screen, but is the unlucky Jacob deGrom auto drafter. I don't know what's going on, why he's not being marked out, but I guess he's not officially. I don't know, but let's see. Let's grab Kershaw here. I don't know what to think about Clayton Kershaw right now. He's obviously dominating. When we talked about him before the season began, and we looked at last year, we saw these dominant outings. We saw Clayton Kershaw. Good Clayton Kershaw was still there. We see it now. But our worry at the beginning of the season was if he gets these phantom IL stints to keep him healthy. The Dodgers, do they move to a 6-man rotation to help keep him healthy? These things that we saw them do in previous seasons to keep Kershaw around when they really needed him. And just some of the durability of him the last few years combined with that. And it's interesting, we are seeing this dominant side of him that we knew was there, that we were excited to get, but we haven't seen the negative effect. But it's not like the negative effect isn't there still. He's still the same guy that, like, nothing has changed except that we're getting the hot part of his starts right away at the beginning of the season. So it's interesting. I don't know what to think about that. We're going to take Max Muncy here. Build our Dodger stack. Favorite stack in this contest is Dodgers. But like I said, with Clayton Kershaw, the negatives aren't gone. that we were worried about at the start of the season, and that we had questions about, where what kind of value we should place on him. And now his cost is way higher than it was during the regular season drafts. It's way higher because it's a guy that we're seeing perform well now. So I just think he's an interesting player to think about. Obviously, I don't, well, hard to build a Dodger stack with me around. Well, you got JD, who's we'll split it. We'll split it, T Bear. We'll split that Dodger stack, and hopefully you can take a nice second place. Yeah, that's just sort of the talking about Kershaw. It's just interesting thing to think about in terms of value that. The value of a player based on what they've done this season, and based on what we thought they were going to do, and based on what they could potentially do. It just makes this contest, I don't know, it makes this contest super fun for me. To me, is this this evaluation. We're working on this small sample of a third of a season, and we're going to play for another small sample in another month from now. We had this whole big long draft period where we were worrying about the full season. We've been doing dailies. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a sick individual, but just this stuff just excites me. I enjoy it. I enjoy thinking about it, thinking through this. Nez gets a nice little, probably undervalued infielders there. Jorge Soler is another exciting guy. We've seen the positives out of him, right? We've seen the good parts that we knew were in there from a few years ago. Now we've upped his value, but the negative parts, are they still in there? The stuff that we were worried about, the stuff that put him so late in the regular season drafts. It's an interesting thing to balance in your head, is what they've done so far and what we thought about them before, and where they're going to be in a month. And then for that 10 weeks of baseball later on, how are they going to perform? So yeah, here's where I was talking about some of these outfielder guys. It feels a little less thin than it did in the regular season, but I do want to get a pitcher here. I missed out. We're gonna take Dylan Cease, who we've seen his ups and his downs already this season, and I think we're just gonna get more of the same. He's going to have these big strikeout games. He's going to have big walk games. And I think this value, I just like this value on him. Whereas Shane Bieber, the guy that we've seen, he's the 55K and 80 innings pitch. And he's opposite of Dylan Cease. We have Dylan Cease, who's got 68 innings pitched, 67.99 somehow, but he's got the 73 Ks. So that's where I'm going to take Dylan Cease in this scoring format over Shane Bieber at this value, just because that K upside for spike weeks. All right, so we have no one from our stacks here that we really want to put in. So I'm going to take Jazz. Like I said, I took him earlier today. I had been scared off of him He didn't look great. Last season had the back issue. He didn't look that great when he was playing this year. He's had a couple of minor injuries, and then he had the turf toe now. But I think based on this outfield that I've put together and sort of where our stacks are going, I like the idea of putting him here and hoping he comes back, he gets healthy, and we see that the top end. Let's see, where is Elly Cruz? Where did he go? Oh, Chipsy's got to take him. He takes him at 80. So that's, again, where we saw his ADP was 104. You're not going to get him at that. Somebody's going to bump him up. So that's, he's probably trolling me there. Or he's doing it just because he knows I'm doing this stream. All right, so we got a 2-2-4 build. This outfield group here, I like to dabble in. I'm starting to get interested in Michael Harris as part of. I've been playing him some in dailies, mostly because he's cheap in those. I don't know that I really want to yet pay this, but he is on the Braves, and this is a lot better value than where he was at. And, we might see him fall a little more if he stays cold. He's had some good games lately at the plate. So he's definitely a guy we want to keep an eye on now. This might be our best. If he does turn around, this might be a low point in his cost. If we want some of him, we might want to start working him in, especially as part of Brave stacks. But yeah, say Kelenic is cooled off, but he's still got that hot side potential. Ian Happ's been kind of cold, but he's put up a lot of points. There's this interesting Cubs outfield group that you can kind of get late. So yeah, Gurriel Jr. is interesting. He's going to be back soon, apparently, from a little minor injury.
My favorite.
Maybe if we're believing it, Cleveland turns it around. Eloy is hurt again, who I was working in this period. I don't know what to do with that guy, but I also like this pitcher group here. Busgrove, Brown. Yeah, so based on this talking through these outfielders and these pitchers that are going at this part of the draft, I have been, Cubs have been cold. Nez and I have kind of talked them up a little bit in some of our conversations, and I don't think we're wrong. I think they do have upside potential still. They've just cooled off a bit from where they were before, but the whole NL Central is pretty weak that they could still make a run, I think, and that offense could start hitting together. And like, they're batting Mike Tauchman now. Like, there's some depth issues there, and Matt Mervis hasn't been great. But Bellinger comes back and he's healthy. They can start working back and being good. All right, we're gonna take Max Fried here. Yeah, we might get some value on these Cubs. Definitely don't mind them as a middle of ADP stack. If you take Dansby earlier and throw in some of these outfielders like Seiya and Happ, Bellinger. Like I was saying, where I was trying to go with this was based on this group of pitchers and outfielders in this part of the draft. I've been a lot more into grabbing more infielders early. So let's say you start. I guess we didn't really hit it here, but if you're on the back here and let's say Freddie falls, you start with like a Freddie Vlad start. It doesn't feel as gross as it did in the regular season contest. Once you get to this group, you can sort of make up. It feels like you can make up some of that outfield ground. So I've done a couple of drafts like that, and it has felt better than it did. Let's see. Our stacks are getting picked apart here, but we do have this group that I like. We're going to take Ketel, Marte. Oh, I missed my pick. Hopefully I got him. Yeah, okay. I don't imagine he makes it back to us. Yeah, the Fluffy takes him right there. But I don't mind working in maybe like a Jake McCarthy later to go with Ketel Marte as a small stack. Everybody else is pretty thin, and they're all kind of exchanging playing time right now. And Jake McCarthy, we've seen him come back up and just start stealing bases again, which was what we saw and why we were drafting him before. So if he's succeeding, he's going to keep that playing time, whereas a guy like Pavin Smith or Evan Longoria, they're still going to get mixed in and out. If they're doing, like, none of these guys have the upside of McCarthy. McCarthy's a guy that can stay in the lineup every day if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And if these guys do what they're supposed to be doing, they're probably still going to get more rest days. So that's sort of where I stopped the Arizona stack. But it's definitely unique if you want to work some of those guys in. And that's where a lot of late round picks for me come down to playing time. All right, let's see what we got. So our draft right now is a 3-3-4. We've got Clayton Kershaw, Dylan Cease, Max Fried. Kind of a interesting group. This is probably, to me, a seven pitcher build at this point. He's got Max Fried. I guess I need to totally line up his return. He's transferred to the 60-day IL, but I guess I should line up. All right, let's throw JT here, and then take probably one of these pitchers that comes back to us out of this group. I'm worried about Bryce Miller staying in the rotation. Once like Marco Gonzalez gets healthy, it's gross, but it is what it is. We've seen the ups and downs of him already. He had some good matchups against Oakland and looked good, and he definitely has that upside, but I'm worried about his playing time long-term this season. Marco Gonzalez isn't great, but, he's more reliable. All right, let's see what we got here. Max Fried, not ready for mound work as of 3 days ago. Hasn't suffered a setback. So, yeah, be sidelined at least through the early part of July. So maybe I am taking a little bit more risk on him than I'd like. We're just going to jam Blake Snell here. Just going to keep drafting Blake Snell as long as he keeps down here in this group. I'm just going to keep drafting him. We know who Blake Snell is. I feel like I say this every draft, but I've probably taken him every one of these streams so far. But we know who he is. He's going to have his ups and downs. And hopefully we get those streaks of the classic Cy Young Blake Snell. We saw, again, here's a matter of perspective. We saw bad Blake Snell to start the season, and lately we've seen the flashes of good Blake Snell, and everybody's anchored on everybody's anchored on that start and totally ignoring the turnaround that he's had. Elly De La Cruz right now has an ADP of 103. He was taken at pick 80 in this draft. So I think he ends up, we'll see what he does the next couple of weeks. I don't know what he's done tonight. I haven't been watching baseball. But we'll see what he does next couple of weeks. If he stays hot for a couple of weeks, he could get up to the 50s or 60s. I bet people chase him there. But and if he starts to play bad, maybe they send him back down, and I don't know. But yeah, and here's another group of pitchers: Severino, Bassett, Snell, Peralta, Luzardo, all guys I like. That it makes it super interesting and gets me off of these really early round pitchers. Ends up a late 4th round pick. So, yeah, it'd be crazy. We'll see what he does the next couple of weeks, but I'm certainly not going to take him at 80, so I'm not going to take him up into the 50s. But if you want him, he's 0 for tonight, but did you see that home run he hit? I mean, everybody goes 0 for, so that's not really that crazy. But we'll see. He could have because it is interesting, because if he is doing bad, does he just get sent back down and then his ADP plummets, and then do we get interested again? Or if they keep him in the lineup and he goes from batting cleanup, where he's batting now to start, he starts sliding down the lineup, how far does he fall? We still got another month. If he stays with the team, we might get interesting value on him. I don't know. It's just fun to think. All right. Chris Sale is on my do not draft list. It sounds like we might get him back as part of this contest, but I'm done. I'm not going to risk it. So again, we got guys sliding that are injured or cold. Nico Horner's an interesting value here as we're talking about that Cub stack. But I'm going to take Taylor Ward, the guy we liked at the beginning of the season, and he struggled, and now he's starting to put together some games. He's back leading off. He's not platooning as much as he did for a little bit. So I think his upside, let's see. We'll see what happens here. But if Feldman does come back to us, we might grab him here and make him our 6th and final outfielder. But yeah, I like the overall prospects of Taylor Ward and what he can do at the head of the Angels lineup compared to Outman batting late in the Dodgers lineup. So I don't know what to do with Riley Green. I'm sort of ignoring him right now until we get a little more news on how long he's going to be out, which might be a mistake, but I imagine he's going to keep falling until we do get a little more news on him. Yeah. I was talking about this earlier, Rod, but I've started to take Jazz in this contest the last couple of days, whereas I had not been earlier. All right, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna take Outman as our sixth and final outfielder. We have a super ton of upside here in Mullins, Chisholm, Harper, and Betts, and then a couple of fringe guys. So definitely closing outfield at 6 here. We're gonna turn off that tab. We're not gonna worry about outfield now. So we have 4 pitchers, 4 infielders. Probably end up 7-7-6. When all is said and done. See, and now this is interesting because this infield group here I don't love, or the pitcher group. So that's interesting. I haven't really considered that. They aren't as deep as they were before the season. Run out of guys I like in round 20. And that's where I don't have that feeling because I'm usually looking at pitcher in round 20 as like a final pitcher. And I think there's a ton of guys, fringe guys that I like. Either guys that are going to pitch a lot, or there's a couple of interesting guys like Tariq Skubal who could be back. And some of those like high upside guys there at the end that I'm sort of interested in. And the way I've been building and usually ignoring pitcher in this first 3, usually first 3, sometimes 4 rounds, that I don't feel like I'm struggling that last round. I'm usually picking between too many pitchers that I want to try to mix and match at the end. So if you are taking a lot of pitchers early and you're trying to pick off playing time of like an outfielder or an infielder, there's guys like catchers. I kind of joked about this being the everyone drafting late catchers. There's some catchers there at the end that are at risk of playing time based on getting their catching days off. Yeah, and I don't think that's terrible. Taking Profar in round 20, it doesn't feel that great, but you're getting that Coors guy. He's batting second. I don't know what they're doing with playing time. I wish Nolan Jones was an outfielder. Okay, yeah. Here's my maybe interesting play, the dark sheet play of the night. We're not going to take him here, but Nolan Jones is he's starting to put some at bats together. An interesting prospect who's at Coors and an outfielder. So maybe if you feel gross about Profar in that round and you're feeling like taking a shot, maybe Nolan Jones is an interesting name you want to look into a little bit more. All right, we're just going to do it. We're going to put together my 2. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know Jose Barrios is boring. I know where he can have bad games, but This ADP is just silly. If Blake Snell is going at 137 and Julio Urias is 113, I'm not comparing them directly. If Justin Steele is going 136, the Jose Barrios should not be going at 176. So I think almost every team might have Snell and or Barrios. Snell's, not exactly as inexpensive, but I don't know. These are boring guys. People are worried about their bad games, but I just don't care. They still have good games in them. They have good offenses behind them to give them wins. They can get quality starts, and I don't know, just keep giving it to me. Feed it to me. All right, we're gonna take him here. Another guy I take almost every pick. If you're excited about Elly De La Cruz, how about we talk about O'Neal Cruz, who is a very similar profile player who we've seen at the big leagues. He was improving his strikeout rate this year. Yeah, Sonny Gray's another guy that, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be scoring you points. He's not going to smash. He might smash, but he's just going to be scoring you points and giving you pitching weeks. It's not like crazy high on those guys, but these are the pitching stats I like to build. These boring, potentially returning from injury like a Woodruff, a Fried, these guys that are going to pitch. I say it all the time. These guys that are going to pitch, even after their bad outings, they're going to pitch. They're going to have good ones. Maybe not Dylan Cease, but every other of these guys have awesome offenses behind them to give them wins and quality starts, or keep them in the game for the wins. Simple as that. But yeah, I mean, go back to this. I mean, O'Neal Cruz and Elly De La Cruz are like body type, not just body type, but speed, power guys that, last year, the things I'm saying about Elly De La Cruz, ask Nez, I was saying about O'Neal Cruz. This guy, can we trust this that he doesn't strike out? We see these awesome powers. Yes, yeah, exactly. We see the power, we see the speed. I mean, well, what is Cruz's timetable? I'm not exactly sure. Sometime in August. It's not great, but yeah. So the same thing. Can they work around their strikeout problems? And we saw it this year. We saw O'Neal Cruz working past his strikeout problems, and he's starting to lead that team. Yeah, so he's back mid-August. Let's pull up that. So yeah, mid-August, basically the quarterfinals. Yeah, and he's walking more. So these questions that we have about young players that we likely won't get an answer on when they start, if we see those improvements, we want to jump then on these players. And, we get him, we get O'Neal Cruz back for the playoffs, and we got a potential Elly De La Cruz at pick 183. And he's supported by a perfectly fine infield that'll get us there. So there's your play of the night Oh, no, I already gave one. All right, where are we at? 556. I'm not. Let's grab my guy, Miguel Vargas. I'm ready. He is the rookie profile that I like. The guy that already doesn't have the strikeout problem. The guy that's trying to find his power his rookie year. A guy that is going to keep getting opportunities because he's getting on base other ways. So we're going to close out the infield maybe with a Vargas, or maybe we'll come back. But yeah, I'm still drafting a lot of Miguel Vargas, especially as part of this Dodger stack. And right now, they need infielders. Like, they don't need outfielders as much as they need infielders. Although, I mean, David Peralta and Jason Hayward aren't exactly lighting the world on fire. All right. Manoah's pretty much on my no draft list. I could see why, as he drops, people might want to work him back in. We're going to take a Logan Allen here. Just a guy that's shown up and shown out. And Cleveland needs starters, and they really have no reason to hold him back. Not sure what his innings look like this year. Maybe some of these rookie guys, I need to do a deeper dive on their potential innings limits. But to grab a guy like that behind the solid core, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm interested to hear what tell me why I let Rendon trick me this year. Well, there's this thing with the Angels that you always believe. Here I shouldn't talk. Here I am taking Taylor Ward as part of this. Like, you always believe. You can always tell yourself stories about the Angels. But for me, I've been off Rendon for a while. Not just this year. It really comes down to, and this is weird for me because I don't usually go with soft sciences and stuff in my analysis of players. Yeah, Eric fell for it too. Is when he was with the Nationals, he had, like, there's these interviews and stuff with him that made him seem like he didn't actually care to play baseball. I don't know the exact quotes. I'm paraphrasing here, but basically, baseball for him was like an ends to the means. Like, it didn't seem like he loved baseball. He talked about not wanting to play for a long time. So I'm not saying that he's getting injured on purpose to get his money for not working. But it's just sort of a mentality thing that I saw based on these interviews way back, even when he was on the Nationals, that has really turned me off to him as a player. I know projections are, they like him. They like what he's done. He's not super old. Yeah, and it's not to say that he's not motivated and that he doesn't want to play now, but it's just like this combination of the injuries the last couple of years and that the interviews and stuff from back then. It's just turned me off to him as a player. And I don't like to. I think they're starting to learn. I feel like they're starting to learn now. But and I didn't really talk about it too much at the beginning of the season because it's hard to say those kind of things as gets those things, and then I say that, and then I'm just a guy sitting in my dining room drafting. I don't really love to say that, but and try and neg on guys in that way. But it factored into the injury risk for me. I'll be honest. But yeah, Nez gets his guy Isaac Paredes, who hit 2 home runs. Looks like he's got a little bit of a Tampa Bay stack, which is nice. So yeah, here's where, I was talking about it before. I was trying to get into it before we got into the Rendon conversation. But what are people doing now with Grayson Rodriguez? I personally have been throwing him in as a 7th or 8th pitcher in some drafts. I've started to do it. He's basically free. He still has an ADP, so he's drafted. It's not like you're getting him like super unknown in the contest. We're gonna do it since we're talking about it. Baltimore needs pitchers. Like if yeah, Eric B's not taking Grayson. I still think, so some of the stuff that came out about what teams were doing was based on him tipping his pitches, based on like some of his limb movements, and they were like tracking it with Hawkeye, and kind of this crazy combination of stuff that really has me interested to see if he can go back down to AAA and like turn into the Grayson that if like those were the things that were holding him back, like the main thing, like I'm interested. The pedigree's there. Like I feel like we can still get. Yeah, are you still drafting him in this contest, Nez? I'm interested to know if you're going back to him at all. I feel kind of crazy doing it, but I don't know. Maybe I need to start looking at what he's doing in AAA and read a little bit more about him. No. Okay. Yeah, and it could be completely crazy, like taking him over a guy who's here and kind of succeeding in like Bybee, Ranger Suarez. I think he was pitching okay tonight. A guy like this that we see come together here. I don't know who else is here at the end, but it's an interesting thing. Eggs are heavy enough, yeah. Here's another guy like at the end when you're looking at late round outfielders. SVYA Tio Garney took MJ Melendez. What are we doing with this last pick? We're just going to take Bryson Stott, apparently. I don't know what I wanted to do with that pick, but yeah, that's what we ended up with. Build our Phillies stack. All right, what's T-Berry got here? The pitch clock is throwing off the rhythm of the game. Pitchers' ERAs are skyrocketing. True. Average ERA it was up to 4.3 something earlier in the season. I think it's dropped back a little bit. I think we're closer now to 4.2, but yeah, if you can't control the pace, it's harder to get comfortable. Yeah, and that could be contributing to a lot of the pitcher struggles that we've seen. We have the shift. Guys like Julio Urias who really benefited from the shift. We've seen him struggling. He's had injuries. Some of the pitch clock, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting to think about. So here we are, ended up with 776. A pretty solid pitching core. We started late, put together a bunch of interesting guys, potentially Max Fried coming off injury to return value. and a couple of shots on Logan Allen and Grayson Rodriguez. We got an infield, Trey Turner. This was my 25th stretch, which is interesting. Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Ketel Marte, JT Realmuto, O'Neill Cruz, Miguel Vargas, Bryson Stott. In our outfield, probably our strongest position, Mookie Betts, Bryce Harper, Cedric Mullins, Jazz Chisholm, Taylor Ward, and James Outman. I think, as I talk through this and look through this, I feel like a lot of these drafts for me are really about getting these values and perceived values between now and when this contest starts. Guys like O'Neill Cruz and Max Fried between now and then, and a guy like Jose Barrios, who is, a value if we're getting good starts out of him. So I don't know. That's sort of been my philosophy on these drafts, is really focusing on where we're going to get value between now and then. All right, so everybody, thanks for jumping in. I know I talked for a while too before we started. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Had an awesome time. As always, we'll get off here. We've been talking a while. So yeah, we'll see you next Friday probably. And everybody have an awesome weekend.